Good morning. It's time to look at another psalm. I thought today we'd look at Psalm 91. Now, we did look at book 4 of the book of Psalms, and we saw that there was definitely structure in the book. That structure moves from lament to promise to the hope of redemption. And 91, the second of those psalms, possibly by Moses. We're not totally sure. There is no caption for Psalm 91. But we do find something very interesting. Let me share my screen. And here is Psalm 91. He who dwells in the shelter of the Most High will abide in the shadow of the Almighty. I'll say to the Lord, my refuge and my fortress, my God, in whom I trust, for it's he who delivers you from the snare of the trapper and from the deadly pestilence. He will cover you with his pinions. Under his wings you may seek refuge. His faithfulness is a shield and bulwark. You'll not be afraid of the terror by night, or the arrow that flies by day, or the pestilence that stalks in darkness, or of the destruction that lays waste at noon. 1,000 may fall at your side and 10,000 at your right hand, but it shall not approach you. You'll only look on with your eyes and see the recompense of the wicked. For you've made the Lord my refuge, even the Most High, your dwelling place. No evil will befall you, nor will any plague come near your tent. He'll give his angels charge concerning you to guard you in all your ways. They'll bear you up in their hands. You'll not strike your foot against a stone. You'll tread upon the lion and the cobra, the young lion and the serpent you will trample down. Because he has loved me, therefore I will deliver him. I'll set him securely on high because he has known my name. He'll call upon me and I'll answer him. I'll be with him in trouble. I'll rescue him and honor him. With a long life, I'll satisfy him and let him see my salvation. Very interesting psalm. At first look, it's just very straightforward. You get statements here. The Lord is my refuge and my fortress, my God, in whom I trust. And then you come back at the end of the psalm, because he has loved me, therefore I will deliver him. God speaking, I'll set him securely on high because he has known my name. He'll call upon me and I'll answer him. I'll be with him in trouble. I'll rescue him and honor him. I'll let him see my salvation. So there are bookends in this psalm, this statement of refuge and fortress, my God, in whom I trust. It ends with God saying, I'll let him see my salvation. And in the middle, from verse 3 down to verse 13, we get something perhaps a little different. Great. So these verses in the middle sort of detail the problems that Israel or the reader of the psalm could face. But it was as I was reading this that I had heard of the terror of the night and the possibility that the terror of the night is actually a reference to a demon. And so I did quite a bit of research, and I wanted to share with you the research that I found, because it helped me to see this psalm in a totally new light. Indeed, terror of the night is a demon that is known in Israel. We see it also in places like Song of Solomon 3:8. If you'll look at that here with me, let's just stick it on full chapter in 3:8. In the middle of this song of love between Solomon and the Sunamite. 3:8, he talks about the mighty men that surround the traveling couch of Solomon. 60 mighty men around it, all of them wielders of the sword, expert in war. Each man has his sword at his side, guarding against the terrors of the night. Now, the terror of the night appears to be a demon that, according to Jewish mythology, would prey on newlywed couples, on pregnant women, and on newborn babies. Isn't that interesting? We see it here in Song of Solomon, chapter 3, verse 8. We also see it in places like Job, chapter 18. Look what he says here in verses 5 and 6. Now, this is not Job. This is Bildad, the Shuhite. He says, the light of the wicked goes out, and the flame of his fire gives no light. The light in his tent is darkened. His lamp goes out above him. And then in verse 11, all around terrors frighten him and harry him at every step. There is a terror of the night. Now, in that context, it's interesting. Look at what Bildad says the terror of the night does. He says, he's thrown into the net by his own feet. He steps on the webbing. A snare seizes him by the heel, and a trap snaps shut on him. There is a trap for him on the path. If you go back to Psalm 91, look at what the author of the psalm says. He says in verse 3, it's he who delivers you, God who delivers you from the snare of the trapper and from the deadly pestilence. The terror of the night would set traps. With those traps, he would snare the unsuspecting victim. Now, we saw how in Job 8, terror of the night occurs. There's a great possibility that Exodus 11 is actually also a reference to this. When God kills the firstborn of Egypt, he sends what in Exodus 11 is called the angel of death. But what does the angel of death do? Several times in Exodus 11, it's said that in the middle of the night, he came and killed the newborn firstborn of the nation of Egypt. Terror of the night. So the terror of the night sets a snare. The psalmist says, God will deliver you from that snare. Another common element of the terror of the night and of other demons are arrows. The terror of the night would use arrows to attack. Now, in the book of Proverbs, not speaking so much about the terror of the night, but instead, Solomon starts this chapter talking about wisdom, and he personifies wisdom. But when he comes to verse 10, look at what happens. Let's see here. Let's go back to 6. At the window of my house, I looked through my lattice. I saw among the naive, discerned among the youths, a young man lacking sense, passing through the street near her corner. He takes the way to her house in twilight, in the evening, in the middle of the night, in darkness, and a woman comes to meet him, dressed as a harlot, cunning of heart. Terror of the night. This happens in the middle of the night. He courts a demon. Foolishness is presented as the counterpart to Lady Wisdom. And what does she do at the end of this passage? Until an arrow pierces through his liver, as a bird hastens to the snare, he doesn't know that it will cost him his life. The terror of the night shoots arrows. Verse 5 of Psalm 91, you'll not be afraid of the terror by night or of the arrow that flies by day. In 6 of the pestilence that stalks in darkness, or the destruction that lays waste at noon, there is disease and there is disaster. Now, if you look back, the pestilence that stalks in darkness, verse 3 of the same psalm, it's God who delivers you from the snare of the trapper and from the deadly pestilence. Then later on in 10, nor will any plague come near your tent. You will not have the pestilence that stalks in darkness, or the destruction that lays waste at noon. If you look with me here, let's go to the book of Hosea. In Hosea chapter 13, in speaking about Israel as a prostitute, Hosea says, chapter 13, verse 9, it's your destruction, O Israel, that you're against me, against your help. The iniquity of Ephraim is bound up, his sin is stored up. Then he says, shall I ransom them from the power of Sheol? Shall I redeem them from death? O death, where are your thorns? O Sheol, where is your sting? This word for sting is the word disaster. Sheol, where is your disaster? Compassion will be hidden from my sight. So the terror of the night comes against the author of this psalm. And he says, my God will protect me from this demon. But what about what he says later here? Evil plague coming near the tent, the lion and the cobra, the young lion and the serpent. You know, if we go back to the book of Job, what we'll find is a different chapter, but also talking about the terror of the night. In Job chapter 4, Eliphaz speaks to Job, and listen to what he says. Verse 12. Now a word was brought to me stealthily, and my ear received a whisper of it. Amid disquieting thoughts from the visions of the night, when deep sleep falls on men, dread, literally, terror came upon me, and trembling, and made all my bones shake. A spirit passed by my face, the hair of my flesh bristled up. It stood still, but I couldn't discern its appearance. A form was before my eyes, but there was silence. And then I heard a voice. And the demon whispers to him, the terror of the night. But go back to verses 10 and 11. The terror of the night is the roaring of a lion and the voice of a fierce lion. The teeth of the young lions are broken. The lion perishes for lack of prey, and the whelps of the lioness are scattered. The terror of the night occurs in this context of a lion. The terror of the night is like a lion. There was apparently this similarity, this metaphor that in Israel was common. The terror of the night is a serpent, and you will tread on the lion and the cobra, the young lion and the serpent, you will trample down. So going back to Psalm 91, what is it that the psalmist talks about? He says, it is God in whom I trust. It is God who will let me see his salvation. Even the dreaded demon, the terror of the night, with his snares, with his arrows, with disease, and with destruction, won't affect me. Even if he attacks me like a lion or a serpent, I'll simply step on him. Interesting psalm, isn't it? It doesn't change at all the meaning of the psalm, what we discovered, but it certainly adds a depth of understanding to what the psalmist said that he faced. For us as well, there is a reality that in the wee hours of the morning, in the witching hour, it's much easier to become depressed. It's much easier to listen to the voices in our head that bring us disease, pestilence, snares, and arrows. Our God delivers us from all of these.